Good evening. Welcome to Bud Talk with Paulette Simone. I am your host, Paulette Simone. I'm super excited to be here with you all this evening. I've been planning this episode since the last Bud Talk, Medical Cannabis 101. I did that a couple of months ago. Very good turnout, very good feedback, and I'm excited to bring to you another episode. Don't worry if you missed that. I will have a link at the end of this episode that will show you how to get to the Bud Talk on Facebook, on my website, and we'll get to that, no problem. But tonight, we're tackling what's eating you about edibles. Later, I'll be joined by my guest, like I said, ExtremeTerpz owner, D'Roc. He's going to talk to us about his edible line. He's going to talk to us about his products that he has. We're going to tell you the connection that we have. It's going to be good times. So we're going to be taking questions from the audience. So feel free to, if you're on Zoom, go ahead and start typing your questions if you're thinking about things, because we are going to get to those. But before we get to that, I wanted to start out tonight with a segment called The More You Know. The MORE Act of 2019, we have to understand, guys. What does it do? It decriminalizes cannabis. Why is that important? Because a lot of people who are using this medicine can't get access to it because it is what? A Schedule I drug, which means that the federal government says it's no medicinal value. But guess who believes there's medicinal value? Kamala Harris. So the MORE Act, which is Marijuana Opportunity, Reinvestment, and Expungement Act, what does it do? It removes marijuana from the list of scheduled substances under the Controlled Substance Act, and that was in 1970. Also, more importantly, it establishes a process to expunge convictions and conduct sentencing review hearings related to federal cannabis offenses. And that's important for me as an African-American woman. My brothers and sisters have been locked up for centuries for a crime that has been seen as federal crime, and it's not a federal crime. And what our VP candidate is saying, let's use resources to help expunge, take back the hand. Let's take back what we know is the truth of the matter, which is cannabis is medicinal. Fun fact, why do we want to move away from calling it marijuana to cannabis? And why is this also important to the MORE Act? This guy right here. His name is Harry Anslinger. From 1930 to 1962, he demonized the word marijuana. He used that term to marginalize Mexican Americans and African Americans, and to make marijuana use seem as though it was a criminal offense. However, prior to 1930, cannabis was listed as a pharmaceutical. There were several communities that used cannabis as medicine. But in 1930, when Harry Anslinger became a part of the Federal Bureau, he used what he knew would scare people by this term, and then he used it to propagate and to push forth a narrative that we know is not accurate. And we know that why? Because we do our research. And why do we know that? You know that because I know that. And that's why I'm bringing it to the Bud Talk, because it's important information. And tonight we're going to watch our VPs. Our nominee and our candidate. We're going to watch them and we're going to listen for certain things. You may be listening for one thing. I may be listening for another. But tonight, while we have this platform to talk about medical cannabis, it's important to know that cannabis in and of itself is on the table. And one of the candidates has information that we need to know. So now that I'm off my soapbox, let's talk a little bit about ways to consume cannabis. You know, I'm actually going to bring in my guest right now because I've been chit chatting for a while, and I don't know. I want to get some feedback and get some chit chat going on. So I'm going to actually invite D'Roc right in to join me and to talk a little bit about what he does, add to the conversation, because this edibles is an important legislation. I'm in Baltimore, you're in Maryland as well. It's on the table. We do need to know what is out there. So I want to bring you, D'Roc, into the conversation and
Okay.
talk to us a little bit about ExtremeTerpz.
All right. Well, peace to everyone. My name is D'Roc, owner and founder of ExtremeTerpz. My motto is why settle to be normal when you can be extreme? And the meaning behind that is there's no such thing as normality, right? And that's what they try to make us all, right? So the purpose of it is basically being extreme is being yourself, right? But the main reason how I came about with ExtremeTerpz is I'm a patient myself. I got hit by a car, knocked 20 feet in the air off a pedal bike, and totaled the windshield of a car. And by the grace of God, no broken bone, no internal bleeding. I had bruises and things like that. But what I suffered from was hyperextension of my muscles, which causes back spasms and muscle convulsions. So I already was consuming cannabis at a younger age. But when I realized that cannabis actually was a medicine, and my walk was when I got hit by the car, I would consume, right? And
Right.
when I consume, I'm like, oh, I can move. There's no stiffness. And then when I'm sober, it's like, okay, the aches and pains and everything come back. So
Right.
I went on my own due diligence. I'm a rebel, so I want to go and find out, what is this amazing feeling that I'm having on top of the medicinal value. So I used to
Yes.
go around different parts of the nation: California, Washington, Denver, Boston, Michigan, all those different places, going to conventions and really getting the knowledge and the background of cannabis. Once I started going to those events, I started running into people that was like, and that's where I really started getting the educational aspect of cannabis and the medicinal value. Um, Cannabis is just amazing. It's amazing. The reason why they keep it away from us is because we can self-heal.
Yeah.
The main focus for ExtremeTerpz is to help destigmatize, right? Because the only way we can heal ourselves, we have to get out our mental barrier, right? Which is education. We have to educate ourselves. Once we educate ourselves, then we can use those learning tools to heal ourselves or heal our family members, or just put a smile on your face. There are things like endocannabinoid system that we might throw out there. There are things like terpenes. There is more than 100 cannabinoids. I know they focus on THC and CBD, but that's the yin and yang. That's the balance. But there are other cannabinoids that that people need to be aware of that can be beneficial for you. And how we're not normal, right? There are thousands and thousands of cannabis plants, right? You know why? Because there are thousands and thousands of different type of people. So we have a plant that is actually for everyone.
Right.
But I'll step back a little bit. I could just keep going. 'Cause
No,
I
I
love to educate. I love to help. I love to enlighten.
And I could do the same thing because I just love the plant and I know that it's healing. And you threw out a couple of things that I want to make sure that the audience understands.
Hmm.
And you said endocannabinoid system,
Okay.
right?
Yes.
And that's long, right?
Right.
And here in that is cannabinoid, which breaks down to almost sounding like cannabis, right?
The molecule in the plant.
The molecule in the plant. And
Yes.
so here's the thing, the
Mhm.
endocannabinoid system is inside of all human beings.
Yes.
We all have an endocannabinoid system,
Yes.
such as we have an immune system or
Yes.
digestive. You
Yes.
know, we have this system inside of us. And it's very interesting that it is attracted to the same compounds that are in cannabis, when they enter our bodies, it locks into the endocannabinoid system. And so that's what I wanted the audience to hear, because when we talk about medical cannabis, we're not talking about just in terms of getting high. We're talking about healing a system
Right.
in our body, right?
Right.
A system. So back to what's eating us about edibles, because you know the people, they want to know in particular, what
But
is it
but the
about?
endocannabinoid system is very vital
Oh,
before
of
we even
course.
get to edibles, because people need to learn how it actually works through the system. So I'll give you about 30 seconds of explaining endocannabinoid, okay? Endo, we break it down. Endo mean inside, right? Cannabinoid is actually the molecule in the plant, okay? Um, the endocannabinoid system is connected to our nervous system, one of the largest systems in our body, right? Has receptors. When we consume the cannabinoids, feed these receptors, okay? When it feeds these receptors, this is when the medicinal value actually takes place. If you have anxiety, if you have pain, if you have any type of ailment that cannabis can help with, that's what it targets. So what does the endocannabinoid system actually do? What it does is it keeps our body homeostasis, right? How you know? Because it brings a smile to your face. You know, you want to relax and say, oh, I just want to chill. You know, you're in your normality state, right? You're not too hyper. You're not too drowsy. You're just at that calming plateau, right? But when your body is balanced, that's when it starts healing itself, right? And that's what the pharmaceutical companies do not want us to know, is that we can self-heal, right? Why rely on another person to heal you when you know your signals and you know what you're feeling, right? So they're not going to be 100% accurate because they don't feel what you feel. So I'm gonna back up a little bit more because I can continue to
No.
keep going, but that is just the gist of
Yeah.
endocannabinoid system. And if anybody has any questions, feel free to put it in the chat. Feel free to put it in the live, because these Zooms, meetings, and things like this nature is for to educate, and to enlighten, to really understand what you're consuming, because we've been consuming for years, right? And never knew what we was putting in our body, but we know it felt good. So now we have the information here. We have people that had done their due diligence and put their foot to the ground and actually got the real research. I said, and it's free information. Like we're just talking, having casual conversation.
Exactly. And that's the reason for this Bud Talk. And that's the reason why I've actually decided to learn this information so that I can share it, so that I
Right.
can bring it to the layperson, right?
Right.
Because, like you said, for years, people have been self-medicating. Like I said in the top of the show, cannabis was being used in 1930, in before Christ. It was being used before time. It was being used as medicine. And so the fact that it's considered recreational, that is a whole nother thing in and of itself, because
Yes.
whenever you are consuming medicine, cannabis, you are medicating your body. You are bringing your body to a place of a homeostasis, which is what the endocannabinoid system controls. And so I thank you for bringing that to my audience. What we did was, during Medical Cannabis 101, episode 1, we went over some of that stuff. So
Okay. So it just
what I,
reiterates.
that is exactly right. And what I want is that people who watch Bud Talks, I want them to be educated. I want them to know what they're using, what they're consuming, and why it works, right? And so
Right.
that's why we're here tonight. So let's jump right into consumption methods. And like I said, there are different ways to consume cannabis,
Mhm.
and there are different ways to apply it as well. So we know smoking, inhalation, we know vaping. You may not know about topicals. You may not know about capsules. You may not know about elixirs and so forth. And that is what we're here to talk about tonight: edibles. Consuming cannabis in an edible form, in a way that it goes down orally. What do you, D-Rock, what do you consider edibles?
Anything that you consume orally, I consume as an edible.
Right. So in terms of your products, right?
Hmm.
What do you offer as edibles, edible options?
Okay. Couple of my products that I actually consider as edibles is one of them is soft gels. Let me see if you guys can you see that. Yeah, you can see that. These are
Yes.
one, right? These are soft gels. Soft gels are primarily in the pill category. You have people that, elderly people that are already in habit of consuming pill-like form uh, products. So that will be easy for them to transition. You have people that's always on the go. You have people that, gym people that work out. They take pills or supplements on the daily. So this is basically would be your on the go or non-messy option, of the edible form. Also have these wonderful, wonderful, wonderful extreme terp caramel. Let me see if I can get it. Can I get it? Yeah. These blueberry caramels is amazing. Ever since I bought these on the market, people have been raving about them. They're blueberry caramels. They are um, made with love. They're not made by a machine. They're made with love. So basically, every one of my product is actually made with love. It's not. Uh, it's not that typical product that you see on the market where they just throw it on the shelf and tell you to buy it, right?
Right.
The whole movement of ExtremeTerpz is for the people and by the people, right? But these caramels, just to give you an example, you can actually drop this in your coffee, right, as a sweetener, but also get your regimen of CBD, right? Or what I do at my events is melt them down, right, and put them on apples or put them on fruit. Or you can just unravel them and pop one in and be on your go.
Right.
I also have tinctures. Okay, these are what we call tinctures, sublinguals, elixirs. It has multiple different facets and names.
Mhm.
But the purpose of a tincture um,
So,
is for consumption on the go also.
mhm.
The good thing about elixirs or tinctures is there are a array of strengths that you can have. Milligram doses, and that is one of the major things that we have to focus on when we do consume or purchase is understand your milligram dosage. Okay, because someone can sell you a 10 milligram or someone can sell you 1,000 milligram, right? But if you don't know, you'll get robbed, right? So what you want to understand is the milligram dosage. With the milligram dosage, what that allows you to do, might have an ailment of anxiety, right? Or you might have an ailment of back pain, right? That might need a little bit more strength of CBD and other cannabinoids, right? But then you also might suffer from maybe seizure acts or things of that nature, right? And you might need a stronger dosage. So this allows you to kind of take it orally under your tongue, where it goes through your bloodstream, straight to your bloodstream, and you get relief, I would say probably in about 15, 20 minutes.
Okay.
And I have those also in 3 different, what we call terpene or flavors, orange, lemon, and peppermint. And all of my products are organically based.
So, first of all, I am a trier. I am someone who has partaken in your edibles, and they have given me great relief. It's not an edible, it's a topical, but I use the lip gloss very often.
Oh, you talking
CBD,
about this?
that's
Yeah.
exactly right. CBD, I use that and it's very helpful for me. But what I wanted to do was I wanted to just bring us back to the first things that you showed us. The
Hmm.
first product that you showed us, and just start real quick with edibles in terms of, yes, the capsules,
Yes.
right? So capsules, like you said, many people are used to taking their medication in capsule form. They're
Mhm.
used to taking pills and so forth. So when you come across a capsule, it's something that is familiar. So that's definitely a benefit. I wanted to point out that they're efficient in the way that you can just take them on the go. They're also long lasting. They have a little can go a long way, right? And then we want to always make mention that it's something that you may find yourself taking along with the other medications, where it's not outside of your norm. It's not that you have to go smoke something or smell or anything like that. So your capsules, tell me and tell our audience, what is the medicinal value of your capsules?
Um, well, the medicinal value is because it's full spectrum. I
And what is
advise.
the spectrum? Please give our audience that.
I got you. Full
Thank
spectrum is basically CBD with all cannabinoids, including the legal limit of THC, which is under 0.3%.
you. Okay. So for our audience, just so you understand, if there is a product, a hemp derived or cannabis derived product that has more than 0.3% THC, that is not going to be able to be sold to you over the counter. If you have
Shouldn't.
any, shouldn't, shouldn't. There's a black market out there, but we're talking legal on this side, right? So anything above 0.2, excuse me, a 0.3%. So your products, are you telling us they don't have that THC component in them?
Yeah, well, a couple of my
Or this
products
product that
are,
we're talking about?
yeah, a couple of my products are THC free, but majority of them is full spectrum. Full spectrum works for me. To break it down, you have CBD isolate, right? So CBD isolate is basically what's isolated away from all the other cannabinoids, and it's only CBD, right? The pros and cons to that, it is beneficial to mild uh, symptoms of ailments, but it's not really that beneficial overall because our body has an endocannabinoid system, right? And with this endocannabinoid system, this system doesn't just receive one molecule, right? It needs to be consumed. You need to consume all molecules so you can get the overall benefit instead of the direct benefit. Now you have a thing, one more. Then you have a thing called broad spectrum, right? People are like, oh, what's broad spectrum? Broad spectrum is CBD with other cannabinoids minus the THC. Okay. And the reason why I want to say those three is because we have to understand that THC is actually the activator for all the other cannabinoids. Okay. You don't really need a whole boatload, 40% THC to get the medicinal value from the plant.
Sorry about that.
Mhm.
I was listening so good, I put myself on mute. So we heard CBD, we heard
Mhm.
THC, full spectrum, broad spectrum. We're talking about edibles. Tell us a little bit about that second product that you had.
Which one? This the wonderful caramels
Yes,
that you
the
had?
caramels. Yes.
The caramels is terpene infused. Terpenes, again, here go another education thing. Write it down. Terpenes, TERPENES, I think. Terpenes are the essence or oil of the plant. It's not necessarily coming from the cannabis plant, but there are an array of terpenes. Okay. Um, but terpenes are the driver of the medicine. Okay. Um, I can go, like I said, I can go in a little bit deeper with that, but I just want to give you the foundation because I want you guys also to do your own research so you can get understanding on your own. Um, but with the terpene infused caramels, which are blueberry caramels, I infuse these with the isolate. right? With this, like I said, you can eat them, right? They're regular. I'll show you regular, old school grandma caramels in the wrapper, clear wrapper. They're five in the case, but you can do multiple things with them. People love them. I don't have any issues with them at all. People say it actually does benefit them. But do you want to go to the next product?
It's me again. I'm listening again. I'm trying to be a diligent listener.
It's okay.
So before we get to the next product, and I actually
Uh-huh.
wanted to talk a little bit about the tinctures.
Uh-huh.
I wanted to tell the audience, so don't feel like if you don't understand certain terms, you're not going to get it. We're going to repeat them over and over
Yep.
so that you can understand, because that's my goal with the Bud Talk. My goal with the Bud Talk is to bring you an understanding of something that you may have been doing all along, right? So when D talks about terpenes and he talks about cannabinoids, what are we saying? Cannabis is a plant, right? And it's made up of many, many elements. And a couple of the elements that have been found are considered phytocannabinoids,
Yep.
cannabinoids, terpenes. Those are some of the elements that have been found so far. And there's several more that for years we're going to be finding out so much more. But for now, those are the ones that we know about. And what we know about a couple of them in particular, like THC and CBD, is that they bring about pain relief. And THC brings about a feeling of a high or euphoria feeling. And CBD, we know, while it is intoxicating, it does not make you feel, it's not, excuse me, it is not psychoactive. It will intoxicate you. So you may feel tired, you could feel dry mouth. So although we hear that it's not psychoactive, which means it doesn't make you high, it will intoxicate you. So you do need to be careful when you take something with CBD, because if you do feel the effect at the certain milligram, you can have a side effect, which could be like sleepiness. So,
which is nowhere near these side effects that you hear on TV with these new products.
Not at all. And that is why we're here tonight talking about medical cannabis, because we don't want to push pharmaceuticals, right? We want to look at what is in the earth that can heal our bodies, and something that we've already been using. Let's just understand it better. Let's just use it responsibly, right? So tinctures. Oh, so I'm sorry, audience. I said the elements that we know about were THC, CBD, and then the other one that Dee mentioned, terpenes. We also know about terpenes in the plant because they're the essential oils. So like Dee said, when you smell cannabis, that's the terpenes you're smelling. When you look at the buds and you see crystals on it, that's the cannabinoids. That's
medicine. It's the oil.
That's the medicine. So we're talking about that plant that you use and that you remember from college or that you use as medicine at home. We're still talking about the plant. We're using some different terms, but we're still talking about that friendly, familiar plant, the cannabis plant. So back to your lovely givings, right? Tinctures.
Okay.
Again, we're talking about what's eating us about edibles. And we have some questions, just so you know. We'll get to those. But tinctures, you put up a tincture. Show us what you have. And I just want to let the audience know. So tinctures, what are they? They are drops, right? That can go either under the tongue or above the tongue, depending upon how they've been made, right?
Yes.
So according to the slide, we see it allows you to avoid the smell, and enjoy the benefits.
Yep.
We see that it's low calorie, dosage control, as well as it can be added to foods and under the tongue, which I already mentioned. So talk to us about your tinctures, D.
Okay. Um, my tincture is non-alcohol based. I mean, you have a lot of people that use alcohol based tincture. Mine is actually MCT oil based, which is a derivative of coconut oil. So that's why you can enjoy the benefit of adding my tincture to basically a drink, a food, a salad, a coffee, anything of that nature. We also want to be extreme, so we got try to have high doses of milligram doses in each bottle. So we have a 500 milligram, we have 1,000 milligram, and then we have a 1,500 milligram. A lot of
Whoa.
that's soon to come. I forgot to tell you that. Yeah, that's soon to come.
Ah,
But but
that's like a pain reliever extreme.
right. Reason why a lot of people, like she said, consume tinctures is because it's smell free. You know, you don't have to smell like smoke or anything. But one of the major benefits is when you put it under your tongue and hold it under your tongue for about 20 seconds. A lot of people don't know that under your tongue is connected to your bloodstream, right? So it bypasses you swallowing it, going in your stomach. Your stomach might, with your stomach acid, might dissipate some of the medicinal values, and then it goes through your bloodstream, right? But with tinctures, you put it under your tongue, right? You get the immediate effect, right? It ranges from, about 15, 20 minutes to about 45 minutes, depending on you and your body and your ailment. Just understand that what I consume or milligram dosage, or what Paulette consumes as a milligram dosage, is different from what you would consume, because everybody ailment again is different, right? But with tincture, they're pocket friendly. You can throw it in your purse. You can put it in your pocket. Put it in your blazer jacket on the inside. You can go about your day. But tinctures are very vital. And there's selling like wild cakes. But just make sure another key fact that popped up in my head is make sure that you have COAs. COAs. What are COAs?
What is a COA?
Certificate of analysis, which means that you have proper testing on your products. Okay. A lot of people, you have to understand that this came from the dark side, right? Which it came from the underground. Now it's illegal, about to become on a legal standpoint, right? But you have to understand that there are a lot of people that is trying to maneuver in the system and not do things the proper way, right? So if no one can supply the COA for you, I wouldn't suggest you to consume or go forward with it, because you don't know what's in it. And that's what all this rave is about, is making sure that the consumer is getting what they're told.
Absolutely. And that certificate of analysis is so important. So you go to the gas station and you see something that says, extreme feelings of happiness, right? You need the gentleman to show you a certificate of analysis.
Great.
Say what is going on in there that makes you have extreme happiness, right? Because this is not a time where you can't check what's going in your body. This is very important that you pay attention to what's out there. And
Right.
if they can't produce a certificate of analysis, or if you don't feel comfortable asking the gas station attendant for a certificate of analysis, then that means that you probably shouldn't be buying CBD from the gas station.
Right. And if they can't explain what it is, then I wouldn't consume.
All of those things. That's why we have you, because Extreme Terps, you are doing it right.
Right.
You are putting together products that you would use,
Mhm.
and you're sourcing your hemp. You're making sure that all of the products that you put out there are tested.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about how you make sure that the edibles that you have on the market are fresh, or that people are getting the best out of them.
Well, throughout my due diligence of going throughout my travels of the nation, I ran into a couple people that had farms. I look for people that grow organically, right? Because that's at the beginning. That's the actual plant itself. If the plant from the beginning is destroyed or mishandled, then the end product is going to be the same thing, right? So I made sure that I look for people that actually have organic practices in their growing. Also, like certificate of analysis, right? And make sure that they had the proper paperwork. So once I, take the concentrate and do my due diligence, I know, for a fact that this product is what it is. Okay. And then it makes me actually extremely excited because I know that the product is actually organic and is going to be beneficial. So, you know how you're making that cake in the kitchen and, you're waiting for it and you're waiting for it and then you get that end product.
Yes.
That's how
I do. So I want to get to people's questions, but I also want to get my own questions answered.
Sure.
When you decided that this was something you wanted to do, right? And you said,
I'm sorry.
What is it? What's
I was
happening?
reading the chats when somebody said gas station fried chicken equals good, but gas station CBD is bad.
That's right. Yes, that's right. For everyone else watching, someone has made a notation that gas station chicken is good. However, gas station CBD, not so much. And so take that from me. It's okay. I will stand on that. Gas station CBD asks for a certificate of analysis. That's all I'm saying. And if the person behind the register can give you an understanding of what you're buying, then so be it. But I wouldn't go to the gas station to pick up my medication. That's just
of course.
So when you decided that you wanted to do this, right? How did you do it?
It just became natural. When I started, like I said, I started in the gray area, which I had to, walk a fine line, right? But throughout my due diligence, I was, it was all timing. DC actually became legal, which gave me a close proximity within Maryland. So I'll be able to, exercise my knowledge down there. While everybody was raving about THC and the legalization in DC, I was more focused on the education aspect. And, I was down there in the vending aspect, but more focused on, destigmatizing and educating people. And I think that's what, kept me in the game for a long period of time is actually the education aspect. But once I was in DC, I started going to Annapolis and really getting fine-tuning and finding out what the laws and regs are for Maryland and, joining forces with different people so I can get the proper knowledge that I needed. It just so happened that Maryland started to wake up to the cannabis movement. And I was able to be on the forefront of that and just continue pushing forward with the knowledge and education and wellness of ExtremeTerpz and the modalities.
Wonderful, wonderful. I appreciate you and your determination, because there's one thing to say that there's something that's helping you and to look for your own help, but then there's another thing to then turn around and make that help readily available to other people. And that's why I wanted you on Bud Talk, because that's what we're all about here. We're all about getting information and sharing it with the layperson, who's home making edibles, right? Who is home decarbing, decarboxylation. And if you know what that means, is bringing down the temperature on your marijuana in order for you to make a butter or something. It's a process that you do in order to make butter or to make an oil or so forth.
Yeah, it's the activation. It's the activation of the medicine. And that's where you get back to the synergy of THC and CBD. The heat actually activates the medicine so that way you will be able to marginalizing it with the product that you're trying to make. It's not necessarily, doesn't have to be, a brownie. It can be anything. But it has to be activated in order for it to work.
And that's why we wanted to have this episode, because there are people who are having brownies and gummies, and they're
Hmm.
thinking, oh, this doesn't work for me. Why doesn't this work?
Or
And
it's too much.
right, or it's too much. It's sitting me down. Why? All I did was sleep.
Right,
They're confusing. And the top of the show, we talked about that endocannabinoid system that you have on the inside of you
right,
has a limit. And
right.
so it reaches, or when cannabis reaches it and it reaches its limit, it's going to balance you out. So if that means that you're balanced to the point where you are no longer moving around, then that's the balance that you're going to get. And so we need to know that what we're using, what we're eating, we need to know where it's coming from. That's why I wanted you on, so we could
Mm-hmm.
get a credible person,
Mm-hmm.
and to know what it's doing in our body and the different ways that we can consume. So, questions, right?
Mm-hmm.
What do we have here? I have some questions coming in from Zoom. Where do edibles fall on the pyramid in terms of effectiveness? Is consuming beneficial, was consuming more beneficial than other forms of cannabis? Do you want to tackle that?
Yeah, that was two questions in one. So, all right. So where does it fall on the pyramid in terms of effectiveness? You have to understand, let me give you two plateaus. When you're dealing with pharmaceutical products, which are medicines and things of that nature, right? Those are not, to a certain extent, natural products, right? So our body has to take it in a totally different way, which might take a little bit of time, right? But when you're dealing with something that's already a part of our DNA and a part of our structure and part of our body, the effectiveness is just as if you were taking ginger, as if you were taking turmeric, if you were taking any other herb out there that actually is beneficial to our body. The problem is the plant has been demonized to the point where we don't look at it as being a part of the herb family, right? But tea and ginger, all of those are still a part of the pyramid of effectiveness in the herb category. I hope that answered your question. And is consuming beneficial more beneficial than other forms of cannabis? I don't understand that
Like,
question.
I'm thinking, the question is consuming, like, orally more
Okay.
beneficial than consuming other ways?
Um,
And mhm,
to me, just to let you know, when it comes to edibles, also, right, especially with THC and things of that nature, people have to give themselves 30 to 45 minutes before it actually start kicking in, because you
say
can
it again.
definitely,
Say it
all right,
again.
say it
30 to
again,
45.
30 to 45 minutes before you feel anything. And the breakdown of that, right? I don't just like telling you things without breaking it down. So what I like to do is paint pictures. So when you consume, right, it goes down and your stomach hits your stomach. Your body has to break down all the properties that you just ate, right? And diversify, is this bad, or is this going to go to my system, or is it going to go this way, right? So your body then takes the cannabinoids and it goes through your bloodstream. So that's what takes about, the same digestive time, right? Which is 30 to 45 minutes that we've been taught when we eat, right? Is the same thing. So you see people out here and they're like, oh, I'm eating edibles. They don't work. Oh, 10 minutes. They don't work. They don't work. And then an hour and a half later, you see them in the corner.
Trouble. In trouble. In so much trouble. And can't tell you when they ate the edible, what
Right.
they just
But
disappointed
but the
process.
good thing though, the great thing about this plant,
The great
it
thing about
will, you could get up and do it again tomorrow, because it's a part of your DNA. I mean, you might get the best sleep ever. You was in the best deep sleep that you probably never had in 20 years, but you'll wake up refreshed and feeling like you're ready to go for another day. That's the benefit of it.
and I don't want to laugh that off, because people have had situations where they felt panic.
Uh-huh.
And what is that no one has ever died from a
Right.
cannabis
There's
overdose.
no record.
There is no record of anyone dying from a cannabis overdose. However, yes, your heart may race Yes, you may feel paranoid. Yes, you may feel like you are stuck to your seat.
Right.
However, best things to do, here's a couple things. Peppercorn. Chew
Mm-hmm.
on some peppercorn. That
Mm-hmm.
will take away the feeling of that high or that paranoia. Smelling pepper will
Mm-hmm.
also do it. A
Mm-hmm.
certain amount of CBD,
Yeah,
sometimes if
that's
you
what I was about to get to.
too much CBD will excite you, but
Mm-hmm.
just the right amount, of low dose of CBD will bring
Balance.
you down.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And
Well,
so
let me elaborate on that a little bit. Okay. That is a secret weapon. CBD is like a secret weapon when it comes to what we call THC intoxication. And what is that? That's when your receptors are overloaded with too much THC, right? Which causes the tightness of your head, which causes the rapid heartbeat that you feel, the sounds that are amplified. Your vision looks like everything is in HD.
right.
But what you can do is actually consume CBD. CBD, it's all about balance. So if your radar in your body is too it's overloaded, it's screaming, right? And that's what your body is telling you, it's screaming. So CBD comes in and put that little bit of smoothing massage to those receptors and bring it back to the normality that your body can really utilize
Yes. So what we know, again, peppercorn,
it. Yeah,
keep
pepper.
them on time, keep them on tap. Chewing peppercorn or smelling pepper will take away that high. And there's reasons for that, and that's for another episode. And then also we know CBD. Yes,
I can't
CBD.
stop reading these threads.
I know
Sorry.
people in the comments have different things to say, which are fun. But so we want to make sure that people understand again, oral consumption. We were talking about ingestibles like capsules. We were talking about tinctures, which are drops. We're talking about brownies and gummies and so
Mhm.
forth. Here's a question coming in talking
Yeah.
about chronic pain.
Well,
Um,
can we get to the one before that, which I see is very interesting. I don't mean to cut you off. But right where it says hello. So my mom has chronic back
that's
pain.
what I'm talking about, chronic
Yeah,
pain.
okay.
Let me
Okay.
get to that. Yeah,
Yeah.
so we're talking about chronic pain, right?
Hmm.
And it's really the question has to do with a person who feels like they've had enough. They
Hmm.
had an edible
Hmm.
and it went wrong and they don't
Hmm.
want to do it again,
Hmm.
right? What do you say to that person?
Well, for one, again, you need to talk to the person who makes it and find out milligram dosage, because milligram dosage is really important to know if you're going to have a functionable day or you're going to have a semi-slow, sleepy, draggy day, right? Um, so you need to know how much CBD, THC, cannabinoids is actually in those edibles. Again, your mother ate 3 cookies, right? What I suggest, one at a time, right? Eat one, wait 30, 45 minutes. If you don't feel anything, go ahead and pop another one. You have to do it sparingly because you have to understand that you have to be your own doctor. You have to find out what is your medium for your body, right? So go ahead. I see you put your finger up. Go ahead.
Well, and it'll actually probably you keep going because we're
I,
gonna unfortunately we have to wrap up soon.
I got you.
I'll speak to getting someone to help you to
Yeah,
understand, which is what I want to say, because it being your own doctor is important, but we do want to incorporate the professionals that
agreed.
have knowledge about dosing and so forth.
Agreed.
And again, I noticed the 3 cookies in the comment. We want to start low
Low
dosage
dosage
and
and work your
slow
way up. Mm-hmm.
and work your way up. Small amounts. You can start
Mm-hmm.
with 5 milligrams, 10 milligrams, 30 to
Mm-hmm.
45 minutes, people. We don't want to just consume and think, oh, it's time. Don't they
Right.
tell you after you get out the pool to sit for a little while? It's the
Mm-hmm.
same thing, before you eat or don't go in the pool. You know what they say. It's the
Yeah.
same thing.
Kendra is funny. She
Yeah,
is.
Kendra's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
But go ahead. I'm listening.
So What else? Let's see. Let me get one more question in here before we wrap it up. Let's see here. What's important for the novice edible maker or consumer to know? Somebody who is making edibles at home,
Hmm.
wants to make, gummies or tinctures or so forth. What's something that they should know, D?
Do your research first. Find out how the interaction of the mixtures that you're going to create, how it actually affects your body. I mean, there's enough information out there that you can actually research that stuff on your own, because there are different type of what I say mixes that can heighten or lower your value of your medicine. Right. So do research first and make sure that you know how much is in it. It's all about math. Okay. When you're dealing with milligrams, you're dealing with calculations. Okay. And make sure that you bring out your calculator. It's okay. You have to go back to high school and understand, multiplication and division. But it's okay because you have to understand that you're actually becoming a healer in a certain aspect, right? So you're having people take what you made. So you have to be responsible and not put that person in harm's way, right?
Right.
And that's the difference between someone who just makes it on the street and someone who actually cares about the people that they're making the product for. Okay, now is it okay for you to feel super inebriated or psychotropic? It's fine if that's your due diligence, but just understand why, who, what, when, where, and hows. Okay. And one more thing that I want to say and how I get to the understanding of when I communicate with people, people are, oh, I don't have no medicinal value. So what I tell people is take the psychotropic aspect out, take the high out. What does cannabis do for you outside of the high? Right. And when people communicate after that, that's all, everything that they say after that is the medicinal value. They'll say, oh, it calms my nerves. Oh, it actually helps with anxiety. It actually helps me sleep. It helps my foot not ache anymore, right? So just understand that these are all medicinal values, even though you believe it or not.
And I appreciate that, because again, I think I said it before, but it bears to be repeated. When we talk about recreational cannabis use, anytime you are using cannabis, it is for medicinal benefits.
Right.
You may not realize what's happening in your body, but a homeostasis is coming about.
Yep.
Something is balancing, something is getting better. And the capabilities of the plant, we just don't know all of them yet, but the things that we do know, we know for now are very important. And so I wanted to say, honest, I want to thank you, D, for
No
joining
problem.
me tonight. I want to thank the people who came on and signed on and registered. They have something coming very special from you.
Oh
Um,
yeah, they got gifts, right?
they got gifts. That's right. So you register for the Bud Talk, and you got the Zoom link. You will be getting merchandise from D'Roc, and there's a wealth of merchandise like we saw at the top of the show. D, give us some information about how we can get in touch with you.
Okay. There's multiple lanes to get in contact with me. We're on Instagram, extreme_terps. We're on Facebook. We're actually, you can contact me by email, which is info@extremeterpz.com. We also have a website, which is www.extremeterpz.com or extremeterpzcbd.com. We also have partnerships with different stores and dispensaries. One of the stores that I want to shout out is actually the corner store, which is 1114 Cathedral Street, Suite 2, in Baltimore, Maryland, 21201. That's where you can get your ExtremeTerpz products. And then you can also get your ExtremeTerpz products at Remedy if you're out Columbia. There's other stores, but I just want to make mention of those. There is also stores in DC. But if you want to know more, you can contact me, like I said, info@extremeterpz.com. And I can answer all your questions. I love to help.
D, I totally, I'm glad that I had you on. I feel like your success is already great, but there's another level that you're gonna go to, and I'm gonna be like, oh, I had him on my butt talk. I remember when I had butt talk, you know.
I
Um,
just want to heal the world. That's it, man.
and listen, and that's what we're all about. That's what
Mhm.
Bud Talk is all about. That's what this cannabis plant is all about. It's about healing, you know. And so I'm just thankful that you came on and you shared your information with the people, because you are for the people, and that's important. So, everyone, I want to go ahead and sign off for tonight. I want to say thank you to everyone for joining me live on Facebook. Thank you for joining me here on Zoom. Again, my name is Paulette
Appreciate you.
Simone. I'm here at paulettesimone.com. You can reach me at psmith@paulettesimone.com. Also, I'm on Facebook at Bud Talk with Paulette Simone, and then on Instagram at simone.paulette. I am here to answer your questions, whether they're cannabis related, psychotherapy related, or just, you know, you trying to live your best life and you want to talk to somebody about that. Talk to me, and let's make that happen for you. I really appreciate it. And this is Paulette Simone signing off a Bud Talk. Thank you.